So this is, so people can reference this after the training. So again, we'll have a slide deck. We'll post the recording. I'm sure people will come in later and ask that question. I will, Shelby or Mary, if people are asking that question in the chat, if you can answer that, it would be great, just because I'll be running the slides. And I think that we are ready to get started. I'm going to share my screen. Actually, let me do one thing. Hold on. We're going to have a little interactive thing in a minute, and I want to make sure I have that link already shared for you. So hold on. I'm going to let because we have 5 different speakers, I'm going to let folks introduce themselves. But I am going to share the slide deck with you. And here we go. Hold on. Sorry. There we go. Okay. So can folks see the slide deck? Cool. I'm Jamie. I'm with Health, Housing, and Homeless Services, and we are the county homeless program. Most of you probably know this. One of our things that we do is help set up trainings. This is a training that is actually required by our major funder, HUD, Housing and Urban Development, because they recognize that there may be clients that we have that can improve their income through employment. So the HUD really wants to make sure that all of our providers, all of our homeless service providers are getting information about how to connect people to a variety of workforce services. So that's why when you saw mandatory, that's why that's happening. I'm going to just give a quick overview of the agenda. So we're going to do a little icebreaker. We're going to do an overview of WIOA, talk a little bit about the San Pablo economic development. You're going to hear some more. That's one of a couple of different programs like that, but we have a representative from San Pablo. We'll hear about Liberty Adult Education. So for some adult ed programs, we'll hear about some youth programs, special projects, and then we're going to have time at the end for some discussion. So I encourage folks that are attending, we're not going to have time to introduce ourselves verbally, but feel free to put your name and your agency, your role, anything you want us to know about you in the chat. And then I'll have our speakers introduce themselves as they start. But first, I think Diana and I were going to do a quick icebreaker, and I'm going to stop share for a minute because I'm going to share another link. So I don't know if folks have used Jamboard. I just dropped a link in the chat. If you click that link, you will come to, and it should be set so that everybody can do it. So let's just make sure. You should come to a page that looks like this. And at the top, it says name that trade. Folks are unable to access that. Let me know. So try it. I'm going to drop it in the chat again. Oops. Try, because you will be able to drop your own information. Hold on, I'm having issues. Dropping this in the chat. Are folks able to get in there? You can unmute to tell me if you can get in there or not.
I'm in there. It looks
okay,
blank.
Great. Okay, so for those of you that haven't used Jamboard, over here on the left-hand side, there's this thing that says sticky note. You click on that and say, you'll be able to put your answers on a sticky note. You can pick which color you want. And then what's going to happen is when you put that, once you do that, it'll pop up here and everybody can see the answer. But they're not going to see who submitted it. So you get to be a little anonymous. So Diana, I was going to turn it over to you. I think we were going to talk a little bit about trades, do a little activity about trades.
Hi, Jamie.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Diana Bonilla. I'm the WIOA career coach at Liberty Adult Education. I work with the Rubicon program. So more than anything, my curiosity is, what do you consider a trade? And I think it's very interesting what is classified as a trade in the dictionary and what we classify as a trade. So I urge you to explore your creativity and think about all the things you really don't have to go to a traditional 4-year school for. That's kind of the clue as to choosing a trade. Um, it's something that's accessible to people who are maybe not able to get a 4-year degree or a 2-year degree, or maybe someone that doesn't have a high school diploma or a GED. So I urge you to explore your creative side and kind of think of different trades that fall into that category. Um, and WIOA does have availability to some of these really unique trades. So this is a great opportunity to kind of chime in and let us know what you would consider a trade.
Okay, it sounded like somebody was having issues with the link. Is it not working?
So it's view only, it looks
I don't know
like.
what's going on. Okay, hold on. Let me just, of course, we're having some technical kerfuffle. Give me a minute.
I can see it, but the toolbar on the left isn't there.
Okay, let me just see. I think because I accidentally said viewer, let's just see if this gives us what we want. Okay, I had just posted the wrong repeat link in there. Okay, there it is. Let's try that again. Is that working? Let me try it again.
Do we have to click on the first link that you sent?
Yep,
Or
the first link. I'm trying to
first
pull
one?
it back up again. Hold on 1 second. Sorry. I'm always like, oh, we're going to use fun technology. And then, of course, hold please. There we go. Let's try this again. Okay, try that. Sharing. That's the link we want. Okay, so Diana, do you want us to take a little sticky note? Everybody take a sticky note and type in something that they think could be a trade.
So it's currently stating there's too many people on the board to post.
Okay, let's
So-
just do it in the
so
chat.
Whoever is able to get one in there, that would be great. But just basically, my urgency is like, think outside of the box. Let's try to think about things that maybe were passions or hobbies when we were younger that we kind of let go of because they weren't offered as a 4-year program or a 2-year program. That's just kind of like the clue to help guide you into what is a trade. It's just not a traditional field of study for a 4-year school.
The other thing we can do is people can just say them and I'll add them as post-its. Or if they're in the chat, you can read them out to me and I'll add them.
Oh, I see some really good ones in the chat.
Okay, good.
Definitely.
Tell me and I'll add them up here so we can see
Okay,
them.
so I see a tattoo artist, musician. Musician's a great one.
Mhm.
Sound engineers, drawing, writing, communications, pet photographer. I love that one. Workforce professional, gardener, plumber, DJ. So I'll let you know who's right and who's not right. Well, there's no wrong answer, but technically there is.
I feel like there's a few you said that I missed. Let's see, what else do we have?
Okay, so we have plumber. Did you get
Yep.
that one?
Nope,
Pet
there we go.
photographer. I think that was purchase agent, actor, mechanic, realtor, makeup artist. I love these. Nail tech, electrician, loan officer, mental health specialist, podiatrist, gamer, hairdresser, carpenter.
Oh, nice. Hold on, we got more.
I think gamer is a really interesting one, and I'll tell you guys why when we get to that part.
Sweet. All right, any others we want to add?
Daycare facilitator, catering, and someone else put YouTuber, but I'm gonna leave that under the category of gamer. That's
Sure.
online. CNA and a chef, health advocate, babysitter, baker, caregiver, parent. Let's put that in there. HVAC tech. These are really great, you guys. Thank you for sharing, everyone. Firefighter, welder, IT tech, quality control tech. I think that's about it for, oh, we have a couple of more sterile processing tech, definitely. ENT, glad that's in there. Electrician, roofer, landscaping, travel agent, military police, solar installer, pharmacy clerk, veterinarian, dental hygiene. So remember, not all of these are correct, and we'll get to why when we get to that part. Dental hygiene, so dental hygienist, OBGYN, AutoCAD drafter. That's a good one, Lubna. Medical assistant, rapper. That's a good one. LVN. I like rapper. I feel like a lot of people had that dream when they were younger. Home inspector, sheet metal worker, GIS mapping tech, retail. You guys are so creative. Truck driver, social media, real estate. That's a good one. Disaster worker. Chiropractor, metal worker, loan agent, district manager, merchandiser, carpenter. I think this is a good number of sticky notes. Oh, banker, that's a good one. Journeyman, yes, definitely. Help desk support. Landscaper. I think we did get landscaper already. Okay, Jamie, I will pass it on to you.
There we go. Okay. That was a huge, I'm still trying to like organize these so you can see them. Diana, do you want to talk about anything related to this now, or you're going to give us some more information when you do your presentation about which of these may or may not qualify?
I think we're going to wait till we get to my presentation, but I will give you guys the heads up. If you have to go to a 2-year school or a 4-year school to achieve that profession, it is not a trade. But
okay, you've given us some hints.
I've given you a hint. And so my esteemed colleague, Mr. Owen Hershey, will be presenting the initiation of the WIOA presentation. And he is with the San Pablo EDC Workforce. He is the EDC Workforce Coordinator for San Pablo. And so I will pass it on to Mr. Hershey.
Thank you, Deanna. Hi, everyone. It's really great to be here. I've never been called esteemed before, so I'm feeling pretty happy today. I'm the Senior Workforce Coordinator at the San Pablo EDC, and I want to talk to you about the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, which everybody calls WIOA because it's kind of a mouthful. So I just want to give you an overview of what this program is and give you some more detail about how it works here in our county and actually nationwide. Next slide, please. So WIOA, or WIOA, is a federal law that was enacted under the Obama administration in 2014, and it's actually the inheritor of a long line of federal workforce programs that go all the way back to the New Deal era under FDR. Kind of interesting historical fact. Includes things like the GI Bill and then a lot of other programs. And so there's essentially always been federal workforce programs really since the 1930s. And so WIOA is a federal program that, you know, comes from the Department of Labor, goes out to each state, and each state has an arrangement of workforce development boards that administer the program on a local basis. California, of course, is a huge state, So typically the workforce development boards are organized by county, although there are some local exceptions, like in the cities of Oakland and Richmond. And the whole goal of WIOA is to help people get good jobs. I like to boil it down and just keep it real simple. That is the point of WIOA. And there's a lot of pathways to get there. Fundamental to WIOA is career counseling, guidance, and support services for people who need some direction or need help finding their direction. So that's a part of every WIOA program. And then training and education is a huge part of WIOA as well. There's a significant amount of funding available to help people pay for training courses. And these tend to be professional things like, medical assistant, web designer, truck driver, all kinds of stuff like that, where, less likely to be something like doctor or physicist, because PhD programs are kind of not really what WIOA is designed for. They're more shorter term programs, but there still are a lot of things that could be funded by WIOA funds to enable people to get certificates, licenses, degrees that'll qualify them to get better jobs. Not just jobs, but careers, right? That's really what WIOA is all about. Next slide, please. So here in Contra Costa County, the Contra Costa Workforce Collaborative is an organization guided by the county and headed by Rubicon programs with a number of subcontractors, which are local offices that offer WIOA services for local communities. As I'm sure you know, Contra Costa County is a large county, all the way from El Cerrito out to Antioch, Brentwood, that area. And so it's really important to be able to offer local services so we can meet people where they are. Even though obviously in adapting to the pandemic, there's been a lot of remote services offered, but I'm pretty sure that most, if not all, of these offices are also offering in-person services. But you can see here, this is a nice list of all of the contractors that are offering WIOA services in Contra Costa County. And it's worth mentioning that the city of Richmond has its own workforce development board. So Richmond Works is the program in the city of Richmond. We actually partner with them a lot, since we're in San Pablo, right next door to Richmond. And they also offer WIOA or WIOA services. And so pretty much wherever you are in the county, there's going to be an office that's not too far away. And you can work with the local office. You can reach out to them and find out how to get WIOA services, and especially how to refer your participants, your clients, to receive these services. And I always like to tell this to participants who are interested in WIOA. It's a free program, but even more than that, you already paid for it in your taxes. I really like to make that point because this is a tax-funded program. It's publicly funded. This is here for the public. So, I want people to know about it. I want people to take advantage of it. You already paid for it, right? Use the program. You can get help funding for training, help with career counseling. There's a lot of great benefits here. So I always like to spread the word and help people find out how they can apply for it. Next slide, please. I was talking a little bit about this, but a little more detail in terms of the individualized services that are available for somebody who applies for WIOA and is enrolled into WIOA. And I'll just say something quick about eligibility for WIOA. It's pretty wide open. You need to have legal right to work in the country. And for WIOA adult services, you need to be 18 or older. Otherwise, you would be referred for WIOA youth services, which I believe covers ages 14 to 24, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody else could probably speak about that, but I'm pretty sure that's the range. And of course, there's an overlap there for like a transitional age youth of age 18 to 24. So what WIOA is really about is the career services, which is helping people figure out a career goal and then figure out the path to get there, which includes identifying barriers along the way. Like you may not have enough education to do the job you want to do, or you may not have time to pursue that job because you're busy working and taking care of kids and doing all the things that come up with life. But then how do you make the jump into a better career? So the WIOA staff works individually with people and also in cohorts to help them make a plan and then figure out how they're going to succeed at that plan. Employment services is the whole piece of connecting with employers, which obviously is crucial for getting a job. So we do this in a number of ways. We do job development. We do a lot of events. to connect people with employers, job fairs. Here at the EDC, we do a lot of virtual job fairs. We started doing that during the pandemic, and we've just continued to do them because they're really easy. All you got to do is call in or Zoom in, but there's also a lot of in-person events. And we help our participants with everything from creating a resume and a cover letter, how to network with employers, how to, be effective, prepare for interviews, things like that. All that sort of job searching knowledge we really try to coach people with and support them with. I always like to say that if you're working with WIOA staff, you're not alone in your job search. And that's actually really important for people because sometimes they feel like they don't know what to do and they're sort of, floating out there in a difficult situation without a lot of help. That's what WIOA staff is for. And of course, training is a huge part of WIOA. The ability to pay for some or often all of a job, job training for people is terrific. A lot of folks who are trying to get into better careers don't have the funds to pay for, a certificate, a license that can easily cost a few $1,000s or more. And so being able to access WIOA funds that you don't have to pay back is a terrific benefit in the program. And what participants will do is work with their career coach or counselor to identify a goal, make sure it's a suitable goal for them, and then the counselor will help them, determine which school they want to go to and arrange the training for them and arrange the payment. We also have on-the-job training where we work directly with employers to reimburse them for training that they provide to new hires. So if a new hire or somebody who's going to have a job opportunity is enrolled in WIOA, the WIOA program can work with the employer to arrange to compensate them for part of that person's wages for the first few or several months that they're working at the job. So it's a great incentive for employers to hire people. I'm not going to go through everything on this list, but you can see it's a quite extensive list of career services that are offered. Next slide, please. Cool. And with this, I am going to turn it back to my very esteemed colleague, Diana Bonilla, who is going to speak to you a little more about WIOA program enrollment flow.
Thank you, Owen. I appreciate that. So this is the WIOA program enrollment flow. And so this is traditionally the route that your participants would take if enrolled in WIOA. So the first part would be to attend a WIOA informational session and obtain our pre-enrollment packet. The pre-enrollment packet can be emailed to the participant, but the preference is for them to pick one up at an information session. We have an information session coming up on October the 4th at Liberty Adult Education, which is where I facilitate WIOA. But like Owen said, we have several locations in Antioch, Pittsburgh, Concord, San Pablo, where you can also register for an orientation. So once they've completed orientation, they'll return that pre-enrollment packet, which is basically disclosures and different legalities that need to be fulfilled for WIOA. At that point, the individual would be enrolled and they would develop an individualized employment plan. Before I move on to that part, I just wanted to let everyone know that when completing the pre-enrollment, we do ask for some information such as a valid ID, a valid social security card, or a payroll stub, or any type of work or education related information that might have their social security number. And then we also prioritize our participants at that point. And we have a couple of different priorities that we use that help enable us to better serve our participants. So once that pre-enrollment is fulfilled and we do the individualized employment plan, which generally takes about an hour, we sit down and figure out what is the next step for the participant. At that point, there are two routes, the employment services route or the career exploration training and education route. I want to say it's about 50-50 at this point, which route they choose. Employment services can either lead to direct employment leads or on-the-job training opportunities, resume building, interview skill building, just anything under the sun that would be an employment service. The other route being career exploration, training, and education. At that point, they would be able to choose a trade. There are 3,900 different educational and training programs currently registered with the CalJobs website. Those are all, or the vast majority of them, are available for WIOA funding. There's a unique little identifier on CalJobs that says WIOA if they're eligible. At that point, we would help with the financing of the training program up to $5,000. And then we would follow them through their training program with progress reports and different check-ins with the educational facility. At that point, once they've completed, we would help them with the employment route. After someone has been employed either through on-the-job training or through their certification in a field, we would follow up and do retention services for up to 3 months, where we're able to call and just find out how they're doing at their job and if they like it. Next slide, please. Hello. Sorry, my connection is not that great, so if I check in occasionally, that's why. Okay, so this goes back to our initial game in the beginning. Which of the following is not a trade? Next slide, please. Okay, so here's another version of what we did on the side. So if you want to pick out which one of these you feel is not a trade, just mentally jot that down. And so we have dancer, plumber, diver, electrician, cartoonist, model, carpenter, mechanic, welder, medical assistant, phlebotomist. A lot of people ask me, what's a phlebotomist? The person that draws your blood. Pharmacy tech, substance abuse counselor, voiceover artist, elevator mechanic, barber, funeral arranger. So it's a vast network of different opportunities. Next slide, please. Trick question. Guess what? They are all trades. I think it's pretty amazing what's categorized as a trade. And next slide, please. And so these are some examples of trades that are currently listed through the CalJobs website as opportunities for training. I think some of these are very interesting to me. I had no idea funeral services was considered a trade. I had no idea that esthetician was considered a trade. So I think this is a good general list of things that you can offer your participants as something that WIOA would cover. If you're interested in looking at the full list of 3,900 training providers, I urge you to go onto the CalJobs website, and we'll talk more about CalJobs in a few seconds. Next slide, please. Here's a big question. Can I work and do a training at the same time? Next slide, please. Absolutely. With all of my enthusiasm, absolutely. You sure can. So WIOA offers on-the-job training options tailored to meet participants' employment needs. Here's some of the things we're currently offering, but let me tell you guys, that list is constantly changing. We're constantly adding new options for on-the-job training. So like Owen said, we offer a stipend to the employers to help with your initial training period. There's also a stipend that's provided to them if they choose to keep your participant as an employee. So there's a lot of incentive there to get people into on-the-job training. So bookkeeper, in-home healthcare, HVAC tech, industrial painter, Class 8 truck driver, pastry chef, payroll clerk, and residential counselor. Honestly, I just enrolled somebody as a bookkeeper to on-the-job training, and they started their on-the-job training making $28 an hour with full benefits. So if that's not incentive, I don't know what is. They basically started from the ground up. Next slide, please. So WIOA participant eligibility criteria. So this is what I was talking about earlier. In order to be enrolled in WIOA, you must be 18 years of age, provide a copy of your California driver's license or ID, and then a copy of your social security card. If you are a male, selective service verification. That can be done in office. So I wouldn't worry too much about that one. And then you would need to create a CalJobs account. All of this documentation would be turned into your career coach during the initial intake meeting. Next slide, please. So CalJobs, my dog is snoring. I'm so sorry, everyone. So CalJobs is the official online resource for the America's Job Center of California network. CalJobs offers online career planning and assessments, education and training information, labor market information, hiring events, and job postings. So if you're interested in looking at the 3,900 different training opportunities we have, or even just checking out what's available in your area, you can go onto this website, www.caljobs.ca.gov. You will have your participant look under individual services. At that point, they can check out educational services. And there are, I mean, the network is huge. And I think it's really interesting what we're able to provide at this point. I know somebody had mentioned YouTuber. We don't necessarily have an option for YouTuber, but we have drone security. I mean, there's some that are really out there and super interesting voiceover work, underground and underwater welding. And it's really important to note before I forget to mention this, that when you have a participant go on CalJobs, make sure they're searching for training opportunities in the whole state, not just their direct area. The reason being is that we're able to offer online opportunities for training programs. I currently have a participant in Contra Costa County who's going to UC San Diego for their paralegal program. I have another participant in Contra Costa County who is about to start UCLA real estate program. So just think outside the box, think outside of your area. A lot of unique opportunities are available. Next slide, please. So these are the WIOA program expectations for participants. So it's really important that our participants be engaged and reply when their career coaches need information from them. This also applies to training providers. So ownership, we want them to take ownership for their careers. We want them to actively participate. We want them to be open-minded because sometimes, no matter how hard we try, some things are just not meant to be. There are some schools that have prerequisites. So we ask that everyone keep an open mind about, sometimes dates get pushed back. Just keeping communication very open, being accessible so that we can resume build. Resume building is really important. I just had a participant who had no resume. We worked on his resume and he got 5 job offers and several phone calls from recruiters. So that is such an important part of the WIOA program expectations. And then professional attire. The only reason we bring this up is because we want to ensure that our participants are attending their training programs as well as any interactions with their WIOA career coaches like they would be dressed to go to work. We want to get that into their head so that people are ready to, start their careers on the right path. Next slide, please. Okay, so to begin the path to WIOA, this website right here is super important. If you want to write that down, I know they're going to send everyone a copy of this slideshow. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so this web address on the bottom is super important because this is the direct path to WIOA. So this is the main way to get your participants enrolled into WIOA. So if you go onto this website, it's the Bounce Back Contra Costa website. It will give you the ability to have your participants view the WIOA orientation via video. At the bottom of those videos is a fill out information request. That is actually an instant referral to the WIOA program. Please give us 3 to 5 business days to respond. So please let your participant knows it might take 3 to 5 days. And then one of the career coaches in their area will receive a referral for that participant. And then they will send them an email of introduction. So if anything, if you only take one thing away from this whole event, it is that website. If you pass that website on to your participants, that is the front door to WIOA. Next slide, please. Okay, so what are the next steps to enrollment? Like I said, they're going to have to create a CalJobs account. They're going to have to obtain and complete the WIOA pre-enrollment packet, return the completed pre-enrollment packet to the CalJobs job search workshop. Once enrolled, you'll work with your coach to develop a personalized career plan and job strategy. Then land your dream job. That is the hope. Next slide, please. If you have any questions, you can reach me on Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 4:30 on Zoom. That is my email. Please don't limit yourself to thinking that we are just in Brentwood or the Oakley area. Like I said, we have career coaches at Opportunity Junction. We have one in a designated Antioch location. We have Pittsburgh Adult Education, Martinez Adult Education. We have the AJCC Center at Port Costa in Concord. We have San Pablo. We're everywhere. And your participant doesn't necessarily have to live in Contra Costa County to ensure these services because WIOA is a statewide program. So we do occasionally take participants from other counties if we have availability. So I will pass on. Oh, my success story, of course. How could I forget? Okay, so I have an awesome success story to share with you guys about WIOA. So Monroe Hillman, a formerly incarcerated homeless participant, began WIOA in July of 2021. He enrolled in a Class A truck driver training and was given financial assistance while he trained by the P2E Prison to Employment Stipend Program that paid him $300 a week while in training. The truck driver training program also provided him with reduced tuition rate because of his WIOA enrollment. In January of 2022, he was hired by our partner Tyson Krupp, making $29 an hour working as a driver. Mr. Hillman completed his program turnaround time in 7 months from start to finish. So this person went from being homeless and really just not having any type of path in his life to having a job making $29 an hour with benefits after only 7 months of the WIOA program. A lot of these Class A truck driver programs are only 5 weeks long. I have a couple of people starting a phlebotomy program that's only 6 weeks long. So I urge you to encourage your participants. Like I said, that link is the front door to the WIOA program. I encourage you to let your participants know about us. Funding is somewhat limited, but we always make the best with what we have and try to get everyone enrolled in the career aspirations that they have. So I will check your knowledge, which ones are trades. So I think we already acknowledged they are all trades. Does anybody have any questions about WIOA for me or my esteemed colleague, Mr. Hershey? Questions, don't be shy.
Could you tell us or put your email in the chat again?
Yes, definitely. And I'll
Thank
put
you.
that bounce back link in there too.
So participants have to sign up through the link, or can they go directly to a site? I mean, to like for instance in San Pablo, or do they really just do the link?
You can go onto the site, but I would suggest that you get an appointment or find out when the next orientation is. Like for Liberty Adult Education, we have an orientation coming up on October the 4th. And so that's the best way to introduce yourself to the program, either through orientation, a direct appointment, or the link. My suggestion is the link because they will get you to a career coach ASAP as opposed to orientation. Like in my location, we do orientation once a month. So there might be a little bit longer of a wait time if you do it in person. Any other questions?
Are there any income limits or requirements to start the program?
So that's a great question. And I really didn't touch on this, so I appreciate you asking that. So there are various different demographics that we're able to serve. And so there are three categories that we currently use in serving. First, we do the priority adult population, which is people who are low income, homeless, refugees, or might not have a high school diploma or GED. And there's a lot more there's more intricacies to that category because sometimes we make exceptions. So it really is case by case. We also have the second category, which is dislocated workers. We work very closely with EDD. And so a dislocated worker would be somebody who's currently on EDD or has recently exhausted their EDD. And then the third category is just adult. And so adult is anyone who does not have there is no income cap, who doesn't have any direct priority. So maybe just is looking for a career. For those participants, we don't like to say that they don't have accessibility to funding, but it is somewhat limited, very, very limited. But they do have full accessibility to our employment services. So that's always an option. So those three categories are how we differentiate our clients. And so we use that as kind of the threshold for finances. If they're low income, especially if they're on any type of aid, they automatically get priority population.
Thank you.
You're
I have a
welcome.
question. What if it's just someone who wants to update their resume? You know, maybe they have a higher degree or something, but they just need help upgrading their resume. Are those services available under the adult category, perhaps?
Yes, those services are definitely available as employment services. What we like to say, or at least I like to say during my introduction, is we either reskill, skill, or upskill. So some people might previously have worked in a field and it's something that's become obsolete because of COVID or just doesn't exist. So at that point, they're reskilling. Someone who doesn't come to WIOA with a skill that's employable, we say we're skilling them. And then sometimes we have people come in who have master's degree, and at that point we're upskilling them because maybe they're specializing in another aspect of their initial career through colleges of extended learning. And so when we deal with people who maybe already have degrees and maybe are outside of the finance threshold for priority, we do offer the different job fairs, resume building, one-on-one interview skills. I love doing resumes. I think I have a flashcard that maybe has like 2,000 resumes that I've done. So I'm happy to welcome, as are all the other career coaches, happy to welcome someone that just needs a resume. They would still have to do the initial enrollment for WIOA because it would still be part of our services.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Any other questions?
Can you hear me? I was having issues earlier with audio. Okay. There was another question somebody had asked earlier, if they're working kind of as a contractor, but still looking for support services. It sounds like, I think you just answered that. Like basically you can already maybe have had a professional career or be doing some work part-time, but still access your services. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And that actually counts as one of our dislocated workers. So one of our categories is for people who are self-employed and maybe aren't able to fund their lives because of COVID or any other, maybe their job category is seasonal. So we do have a specific category for people who undergo mass layoffs, people who maybe are self-employed. We even have a very unique category, and this is one that would definitely pertain to a lot of people in the homeless population, and that is dislocated homemaker. So it is for someone who was previously fully funded by a family member or spouse, and for whatever reason, either a separation or an eviction, are no longer supported by that family member or spouse. And so we do have a unique category for dislocated house. They call it dislocated housewife, but you know, this is 2022, so dislocated person. So yeah, like I said, it is very much case by case basis. We have a lot of flexibility with the participants, and we work really hard to try to get everyone in there.
Excellent, thank you. I'm gonna share slides again, and I think we're gonna move. We have just a little bit from Owen. Sorry, this is my computer's just having a Monday. So Owen, we're gonna kick it back to you just to talk a little bit more about some of the flyers that you'd shared.
Thank you, Jamie, and thank you, Deanna. That was a wonderful overview and detail of how WIOA works. And I would just encourage anybody who's interested for themselves, or especially for their clients and people they work with, to reach out and find out about certainly the local WIOA offices that are near to you. That's often the most convenient, you know, for when you're going into the office, you want to find something close by. But I just love to make the point that WIOA exists all over the country. So of course we're focused on our local area here, but I always remind people, like, tell your cousin who's out of work in Minnesota to look for the local WIOA program. It's a national program. Everybody's taxes pay for it. This is for everybody. So just keep that in mind, that, you know, eligibility is pretty wide open. You guys had some great questions about income levels and education levels and all that. Essentially, just about everybody is eligible for WIOA. It's a question of priority. People who are low income, another couple of priority categories are veterans, and then people who've been impacted by the justice system, been incarcerated or on probation, things like that. Also, people who are English language learners or people with disabilities are priority categories in Contra Costa County. So the priority may affect, you know, how easy it is to get training funds, but it's always worth reaching out to find out about it. So, you know, in our San Pablo office, we offer virtual orientations every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. So that's tomorrow. If you have people who want to attend, they can absolutely connect via Zoom, or they can just call in. And I think everybody's getting a copy of this flyer. If not, what I'll do is post the info or flyer, this presentation. I can also post the info in the chat. This is open to the public. People can always connect via Zoom, or they can just call in, and our staff offers a brief orientation just to give people an idea of how WIOA works and tells them how to follow up. One thing to keep in mind is that to enroll somebody in WIOA, we do need proof of their eligibility. We need to get digital copies of things like their ID, something showing their social security number, something demonstrating their priority category. So if they are homeless, for example, that could be a letter from a shelter or something like that, verifying that. You know, veterans will have, you know, documentation of that, people who are in the criminal justice system. I see the question about people who are undocumented. And unfortunately, people who don't have legal right to work in the country are not eligible to be enrolled in WIOA, I'm sorry to say. There are other resources available, but since this is a federal program, that's one thing they're quite strict about. So sorry to say. But people who have a legal right to work, you don't have to be a citizen. So if you are an asylum seeker or you have a social security card that says valid for work, then they can absolutely do WIOA. Dreamers are absolutely eligible for WIOA. I'm quite certain they have legal right to work. Great questions. So, you know, this is our flyer about signing up. And then I wanted to speak about our weekly job searching group, which meets also virtually. We're still kind of on pandemic methodology. We have a job searching group. It meets every Thursday morning at 10 a.m. called Connect to Opportunity. And this is led by our staff. And it's basically, you know, people know about job clubs, but we decided we're kind of tired of the name job club. We wanted to call it something else. So we call it Connect to Opportunity. And it's really just an interactive discussion with job seekers, participants in the program, who are at various stages of their job search. And honestly, we cover everything in this group. You know, we talk a lot about networking. That's kind of my passion. I always want people to network more because I think it's the best job search strategy. So how do you do that? We talk all about how to do that, and we check in with people. We have a lot of people who come every week and give us a report on like how it's been going, what's been difficult, what's been good, what am I doing next week? It's kind of a way to stay accountable and on schedule in your job search, which is a big challenge for a lot of people in their job search, including me. Last time I was looking for a job, I had to stay on task. And, I'm a workforce professional, but regardless, had to, keep up to date with all the things I need to be doing and really have a plan of what my job search was going to look like. So this is a way for people to engage directly with our staff, to get advice, about things. Some of them ask questions like, I've got an interview next week and I'm not sure about this. We talk about that. People ask questions about resumes. People ask questions about, applying for jobs online and this happened. What do you suggest I do? So it's just a way to engage directly with staff. We've even done things like mock interviews where we had employers come and conduct practice interviews for people. That's been really good. So this is just something for our WIOA clients where they can get kind of that direct assistance. And it's also a group. So sometimes it's, 2 people and sometimes it's 8 people, but it's a nice group. And especially because we get regular people, it really honestly provides a lot of emotional support for people as well. I always say we're not therapists. It's not our job to do that. But, everybody needs some support in their job search. It's not easy, especially when people are trying to pay the bills and how everything costs so much nowadays. People are under a lot of pressure. It's frustrating. There's a lot of insecurity. People don't know what to do. They feel stressed out. So just being able to kind of vent a little bit and talk about the challenges they're facing. That's pretty much what we always start with. How's it going for you? And what are the challenges you're facing right now? And then we dive into it. We talk about it. My goal with this workshop is that people come out of it with at least some tangible advice or some good ideas about how to address what they're dealing with. We don't magically solve things for people, but we can give them a lot of good guidance about what to do to have a successful job search. So this is a great thing that our clients can participate in. And I know there's a lot of centers who have in-person groups as well. And this flyer is specifically designed for dislocated workers. And that's how we say people who are laid off or recently separated from employment, or even people who've had their hours reduced, sometimes due to COVID, sometimes due to other things, can often qualify as dislocated workers. So this is one of the priority groups for WIOA enrollment, and dislocated workers often have a lot of access to training funds because considering that people have been working recently, often have good skills, the program really wants to help them get back to work. So, people who can qualify as dislocated workers, which is often if they're receiving unemployment insurance, eligible for unemployment insurance, or maybe have exhausted unemployment insurance, can usually qualify as dislocated workers. And then Deanna had mentioned displaced homemakers, which are people who've been working at home, taking care of family members like kids or other relatives, but now have to enter the workforce for whatever reason. Maybe they got divorced or their spouse lost their job or something like that. So, and I know there's a lot of categories and that can seem kind of complicated. Staff will help people sort this out. People don't have to know like, oh, I'm a displaced homemaker with this priority. They don't have to know that coming into WIOA. They just have to know, hey, I need some help getting a job. Staff will help them navigate all these things. That's our job. So they shouldn't worry about that. We do need to be able to document it, but we'll let them know how they can do that and help them figure out what they can submit to us so that they can enroll as a priority. Next slide, please. Success story. This is our absolute favorite part of the job, is when our participants find success, when they find a good career. So I also have a truck driver. Truck driving is real popular these days. I don't know about the other career coaches out there, but everybody wants to be a truck driver. But there's a lot of good reasons for that. As Deanna mentioned, the training is pretty short. As long as you have a driver's license, the training is fairly short. Passing the DMV test is to get a commercial Class A or Class B license is kind of tricky. We have a lot of people who take it 2 or 3 times. I know they're very strict about that. But once they do, there's a lot of demand for truck drivers and bus drivers as well, and the jobs pay quite well. So this is our participant, Oscar, who's originally from El Salvador. He's been living in the United States for about 20 years with his wife and 3 children. And Oscar came to us because he was in fact working, but he felt like he was really stuck in low-wage jobs. He was doing housekeeping and things like that for hotels, and barely scraping by. Obviously inflation and all the costs people have encountered, and the whole pandemic era has been really tough on a lot of people out there. And so he really wanted to get a better paying job, but he didn't really know how to do it. But he didn't know that he wanted to become a commercial driver. So we enrolled him in our program. He was also taking ESL classes at the same time because he wanted to sharpen up his English. He spoke mostly Spanish at home and in his job. So that was another area we referred him for ESL classes. He went and we were able to fund him by combining a few different grants that we have. One of the things we do at the EDC is we have our WIOA program, but we also apply for other grants that we can leverage with WIOA to provide extra supports for our participants. So whether they are impacted by the COVID economy, we have a special grant for that called the National Dislocated Worker Grant. And we have some other grants that we've been able to get that are funded by private foundations and banks and things like that. And so we're always going to enroll our participants into as many grants as they're eligible for, because there's more supports available. Sometimes there's extra training funds available. Sometimes there's supportive services funds available, money that can help them pay bills and get extra food and things like that. So Oscar was enrolled into, I think, 3 different grants with us, and we combined them to pay for his training program. And the commercial driver training programs are kind of expensive. The one he did was over $7,000, if I'm not mistaken. The normal limit for WIOA funding is $5,000, but because we were able to combine multiple grants, we were able to cover the whole cost for him. He finished the course. He passed his test. I don't remember if he passed it on the first time or not, but since I don't remember, I'm going to say he did. Good job, Oscar. You're the man. And check him out. He's got his permit there. That's when he passed the test. He took a photo for us right outside the DMV. You can see how happy he is. And I'm very happy to report that Oscar just last month got a job at the Port of Oakland, making great money with good benefits, driving a truck. His income has skyrocketed from his former employment. And so this is making a huge difference in his life and his family's life. I mean, just imagine. So he's a good example of somebody who was working previously, but really needed to get a better career, really needed to get something where he had upward possibility of not only earning a better wage and getting better benefits, but like a forward path where he could see himself moving into better and better wages. So this is a really common category of people who, enroll with us are folks who are working, but they're just scraping by, doing whatever kind of job to get by, but it's not enough. I mean, we all know how expensive it is here in the Bay Area, all the costs that we have. So we're really proud of Oscar. Being able to help him and his family like that is just, that's what it's all about. So, yeah, I don't know what to say other than it makes us really proud. And it's really great to see the success that he had. And, listening to Deanna's somewhat similar success story is just fantastic. It can really make a big difference in people's lives. It is certainly important for the participants to be able to do what they need to do to succeed in WIOA. They need to go to the class. If they're training, they need to follow through, connect with us, be consistent. These things are important because not only will they need that to be successful in WIOA, they're going to need that when they get a job, obviously. So, sometimes being a successful WIOA client is like a good audition for being successful in their next job, which is the whole point of our program. We're really proud of Oscar and just encourage you to reach out to the local centers, wherever they may be, for your participants. Could I see the next slide, please? So I think I didn't talk so much about this other than the orientation, but what are ways that an interested community member or staff person could engage?
Hey,
with
I
the
was
EDC
scrolling
program?
around I see something on Instagram, but
Anyone have any guesses? I kind of gave it away, but we're checking to see if you're paying attention. How are you going to enroll or refer somebody to the EDC if you have people, particularly in West Contra Costa County, where we're located? We enroll a lot of folks from this area. We do sometimes enroll people from out of area, like maybe Alameda County or Solano County, sometimes other parts of Contra Costa County. Anybody have any guesses as to how you can engage with the EDC? We're not going to let you out of this Zoom until you answer, so you're going to have to stay trapped in this Zoom. I'm just kidding.
Email.
Looks like somebody email, absolutely different from the website. So we're one of the centers listed on the county website. Basically, that's a great way to go in and see all the different locations. So one way to pursue these services is look for a location close to where you or your participant is. Dropping by the offices, certainly, yeah, we're still doing a lot of services remotely, but we do have people come to the front door. We're located inside the San Pablo City Hall. So we do have people come to the front door and inquire about services, and we'll absolutely go out and speak with them, give them like a little mini orientation, and then let them know what they need to do to apply. I mentioned the orientation. That's really designed for people to find out about WIOA. So every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m., anybody can tune in. But, you know, sometimes we get people who call us Tuesday afternoon at 1 p.m. and we don't want to make them wait all week to go to the orientation next week. So typically what we'll do is either give them an individual orientation or set up an appointment to speak with them. So the other way would be reaching out directly to our staff, myself or our intake coordinator. And I put my email address earlier, but I'll make sure to share that information with everybody as well. Next slide, please. Any questions that anybody has about our particular services here at the San Pablo Economic Development Corporation? And I don't know if people raise hands, I'd actually be able to see.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything in the chat or with like Zoom raised hands.
Okay. Well, I will put my and my colleagues' contact information in the chat, and we're always happy to answer questions if they come up. With that, I would like to introduce our esteemed colleague, Sarah Steen from Liberty Adult Education, and I'll hand it over to Sarah.
Hi, everybody. Hello, my name is Sarah Steen, and I'm at Liberty Adult Education. I'm actually brand new to adult ed. Let's see, my former coordinator of adult ed just retired, and so now you guys are stuck with me. And our transition specialist isn't feeling well, so you really are stuck with me for this presentation. But Liberty Adult Education is a really great center to visit. All of the things that Owen and Deanna were just talking about are things that you can definitely take advantage of here, or even just get more information. So with that, really the place it begins is with the CASAS testing. That's really how we can identify what types of programs our students need to start with. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I have a voice disorder, so sometimes I sound a little choppy. It's probably not your internet, it probably is my voice. So bear with me with that. So basically, our students come in and take the CASAS test. Once we find out how they score, we can try to get them set up in the best class, whether it's English classes for second language learners or the adult basic education classes. That's really foundational skills. So if they need to really start with math and language arts, that would be where they start. But the goal would most likely be to get into the high school equivalency program or get prepared to take the GED. So we are a testing center here at Liberty Adult Ed. People can register online and then come and take their GED test here when they're ready to do that. But sometimes adults just need to kind of get back into math and reading, science and history. And so they really need those classes to get ready before they take the test. Last year we had over 3,000 enrollments. Our unduplicated count was 1,623. So we serve a pretty good number of students here, not just in Brentwood, but the surrounding areas as well. If you're not familiar with Brentwood, we're, I guess, far east county, and we're right across the street from Liberty High School in the downtown Brentwood area. Let's see. So that just kind of shows our different classes, but We also offer a variety of business and medical CTE programs. These programs are anywhere from 20 to 35 weeks to complete an entire program. There's anywhere from 4 to 15 individual classes in those programs. So that's why they may take a different amount of time to complete. What else do I want to say about that? So our students can actually get certificates in each of the classes that they take, in addition to the program certificate once they complete. To get the program certificate, they do need to have 80% attendance. And there's usually a keyboarding requirement as well. So we get people up to date with their keyboarding and typing skills. So lots of great opportunities to get back into the workforce with those career technical programs. CalWorks. So this, I mean, to me, this is like a hidden gem in Brentwood. It's amazing to me that more people are not taking advantage of the focus and the career connections classes. You actually need to get a referral from the student's CalWorks worker. So it's not something that they could come into Liberty and I can enroll them into the class, but it is something that if they're working, if they're a recipient of CalWorks assistance and engaged in their welfare to work program, that's who's eligible for Focus and Career Connections. But the cool thing about Focus and Career Connections is, first of all, you're going to have a very low class size and like one-on-one attention to focus in on exactly the kind of skills you need, whether it's math, writing, career exploration, applying to jobs, getting your resume ready to go. This instructor is going to be able to kind of walk you through a curriculum and a program, but the end goal is to leave that class employed in a career that's going to be paying a wage, kind of like Owen was talking about earlier, not just paying the bills and having people struggle, but something that's going to make people live more comfortably. These two classes also have additional support services like transportation reimbursement, diaper stipend, help with childcare, and they also help with clothing requests. So if you are having to get ready for a new job interview and you don't have what you need to make that great first impression, they'll actually help you with that as well. So these classes are Monday through Friday, 9 to 2:30. And like I said, the CalWorks worker has to refer the students to attend either one of these classes. So we're lucky to have Deanna at our Career Center some of the days. She also works remotely, but in addition to Deanna, we also have a transition specialist who's Nadal, and we also have our employment specialist, Bertha. So we have bilingual staff members here, and our Career Center is open to everybody. They can come in, log into a computer. If they don't know how to log into a computer, we'll help you like get set up with an email address. But they have access to updated local and regional job listings. There's like I said, a resource room so you can access the computer. You can make copies of documents. They help you with resume writing, interviewing. There's one-on-one coaching available. You can look at the Cal Jobs website. It can help you navigate that website. And they also help you connect to other community resources. So if somebody just doesn't know where to start, the Career Center is the perfect place to go. They can say, I just need a change. What should I start thinking about? And our staff members are going to kind of try to figure out what might be the first step in a plan of attack. So it's a really great place, super welcoming. And like I said, it's just kind of a place where you can get access to so many different resources. I don't know why more people don't walk in on a daily basis, but we do have a pretty good turnout each day, just even though it's not something that everybody's talking about. So we also partner with Los Medanos College, and so they help us with different workshops, and that partnership really provides an opportunity for students to think about classes they can take here to, you know, whether it's the ESL, ABE, or getting the GED. The next step is they want to continue that education. They can do so at Los Medanos College. Some of our classes are articulated with the college so they can get the college course credit. But it's also just a good way to kind of get used to school again and then get back into going to college. The Los Medanos does a lot of great workshops for us. There's College Info 101. They do walkthroughs of the whole application process. They have a Show Me the Money workshop to kind of talk about financial aid and how to pay for school. And so community members can come in and take advantage of all of these workshops. And so a lot of our students will take advantage of some of these other fun, just community interest programs that we have at Liberty Adult Ed, whether it's yoga, drawing, genealogy classes. We had a personal empowerment series recently that people can't stop talking about. So a lot of things to kind of break up the stress of life. Maybe sometimes you just need something fun too. I think that's all I have. There's Nadal's contact. Like I said, she's in our career center, and she's a great person just to reach out to about all the different things we have available. So now, if anybody has questions, go ahead and let us know.
I'm not seeing any in the chat, and I'm not seeing any hands raised. So we'll have time at the end too for questions if folks have any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you for this information. It's very informal. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Excellent. We're going to turn it over to Narama. Narama, are you here?
Yes.
Okay, good. Great.
Thank you. Just took a bit to find my mute button. Unmute button. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Narama Birch from the Workforce Development Board, and kind of in keeping with what you've heard today from Owen and Diana, I will be talking about the WIOA Youth program. So there's kind of three titles of WIOA, or three different populations. Adult and dislocated worker you've heard about, and now you'll hear about the youth program and kind of how to connect to that. So I'll give you a bit of an overview and go over kind of the activities and components that are part of the youth program, how to connect a person and make a referral. And then if there's time, I can share a few different projects, special projects that are on the horizon that haven't quite been launched yet, but you might be interested in. Okay, so starting with the definition of youth. For WIOA purposes, youth is 16 through age 24, as Owen mentioned. So there is some overlap with the adult programs, but they're really quite different in character. And I can say a little bit about that later. So I wanted to share with you kind of three overarching goals for the WDB youth programs. One is really creating and expanding earn and learn models. It's always this question of kind of time or money. When people have time to do training programs, maybe they don't have money. When they have money, they don't have time to actually do training programs and learn new skills. So one of the main strategic plan goals we have for this year and moving forward is really creating and expanding earn and learn models where people don't have to choose between time or money. So they're either getting some compensation for the training that they're doing, or they're doing training on the job. Maybe it's an apprenticeship. And I'll highlight some of those features in the youth program. And then serving vulnerable populations to build transferable skills. With the WIOA youth program, there are specific target groups. So the eligibility is focused on certain individuals that have to meet specific criteria that's set by the law. And then a third major goal for the board this year and the youth programs are to increase access to WIOA for in-school youth. Prior to, well, until just recently, the youth program really focused on out-of-school youth because the law required that 75% of the youth allocation be used specifically for out-of-school youth. And what that meant, what that kind of rule and regulation in the law meant, was that there were a lot of young people who were in school who really we were not focusing on. And so I'm going to share with you a little bit about that. There's a special waiver, so we're hoping to increase services to in-school youth who are systems involved. So next slide, please. Okay. This is a list, if you will, of the many different types of activities that a young person could be involved in the youth program. And question for the group, if you'll put your response in the chat, how many of you actually planned for the job or the career you have now? I'm seeing a lot of no's. Okay, still seeing a lot of no's. So yeah, not many of us have actually had the opportunity to plan and think out our careers or our jobs. Many of us just kind of fell into it. Oh, nice. So somebody said that they didn't even know the job existed, and that was kind of a follow-up question. So how many of you as a teenager actually knew that your current occupation existed? Yep. Oh, and it's funny. Who dreams of becoming a career counselor? Well, career counseling is actually a relatively young profession. So it's only maybe 60 years old now, something like that. So not surprising that many of us didn't have the opportunity to really kind of plan and learn about the many different occupations that are available. So the WIOA Youth Program actually tries to remedy that for people who qualify. It starts with a career assessment. People are given the chance to do interest inventories and value surveys or an in-depth career exploration exercises. And so then the idea being that young people especially may not have been exposed to very many career choices. The once they've kind of done their exploration, then each young person has a plan that they develop for kind of getting to that occupation from where they are. Hello?
I think we got them muted. Sorry.
Oh, services are very, very individualized. So the plans are as unique as each individual. Not all youth will need all these things on this list. So it's kind of a, we kind of make a quilt, if you will, out of the different services and help the person kind of build and launch in their career. Paid internships are a huge focus of the youth program. They're currently paid at $15 an hour, which is the minimum wage. We're looking at potentially increasing that. And that is where a young person works at a host work site and the program pays their wage. And on the minimum side, 120 hours, that's more of like a starter career exploration internship or work experience. If somebody is really got a very well-developed plan, we may even be able to fund up to 500 hours. Incentives, those are cash incentives. The youth providers are paying anywhere between $25 upwards to $200 when the young person achieves certain milestones, such as maybe getting their high school diploma or finishing a series of work readiness classes, or creating their resume and doing a perfect mock interview, those kinds of things. And then there is some tuition assistance for career training. It's kind of the same bucket of funds that Owen was talking about earlier. There is a cap of $5,000 per person. Sometimes we can exceed that when the training is in a priority industry, and I'll give you those in a little bit too. Job search assistance, information about in-demand occupations. Some of the young people are, rather than preparing to go immediately in the workforce, they may be preparing to go into college or do short-term certificates, and the career coaches can help with those applications and accessing financial aid, the FAFSA, and scholarships and grants that may be available. Supportive services are assistance with tools, books, work clothes. A lot of the young people don't have interview appropriate clothing, and so there's funding to help them with that. Bus passes and the like. Assistance with money management, basic financial literacy, budgeting. Often that works best when it's paired with one of those paid internships or paid work experiences. Let's see. And so those are just kind of a laundry list of what the WIOA Youth Program provides for young people. And then we'll go on to the next slide, which is our youth eligibility or the target populations. And I dig a little deep into this because people can get kind of excited about the program and all that is offered, but if the eligibility conditions aren't met, then they're not able to be served. So in order to do an effective referral, I think it's really helpful to kind of know the the weeds of who the WIOA youth program is able to serve. So there's kind of two different target populations. There's the out of school population, and that's out of school and also out of work. So completely disconnected, ages 16 to 24. With any one of these characteristics, so high school dropout or truant for the last quarter, school year quarter, justice involved, homeless, runaway, current or former foster youth, pregnant parenting, has a disability, high school graduate who is low income and basic skills deficient, that's what the BSD stands for, or an English language learner. So if the person does not fit into one of these other categories, then, and they're a high school graduate, they must also be low income and basic skills deficient, which is reading, writing, or arithmetic, math, below high school level, or an English language learner. And then I've got another slide in the next coming ones that will, actually, could you go back? Sorry. But it'll show you piece by piece, out of school and in school. So notice for in school, the age is a little bit younger, 16 to 21, low income. So if they're an in-school youth, then even if they have one of these other characteristics, justice involved, English language learner, basic skills deficient, current former foster, pregnant parenting, youth with a disability, they do need to be low income. And there's many different ways to be that. Okay, thanks, Jamie. Now next one. So this slide is just the out of school youth eligibility. And I like to use this as kind of a checklist. So 16 to 24, then, and not attending any school. You'll see this little note at the kind of in that same box that says, or attending adult ed, youth build, or Job Corps. I know it's weird. WIOA actually treats the Job Corps participants, youth build participants, and adult ed participants as out of school. So it's just a little wonky. Then one of these barriers that has been listed below. And parenting could be either male or female. However, if the child has not been born yet, the male parent technically isn't parenting yet, but once the child is born, then they're considered parenting. As Owen mentioned, selective service is required for eligibility for the WIOA youth program. If a young person is not yet 18 and they get into the WIOA program and then they turn 18 while being in the WIOA program, they'll be given the option to register for selective service at that time. If the young man chooses not to register for selective service at that time, they will need to stop their WIOA participation. It's a federally funded program, and that's one of the requirements. If they register when they turn 18, no problem. They can continue in the WIOA program. There's no age out age for WIOA. So unlike the foster care system, when you turn 18, or if you're in AB 12, you turn 21, you age out of the system. Once you are in the WIOA youth program, even if you turn 25, you're can still be in the program. There's no such thing as aging out, as long as your eligibility was determined prior to your 25th birthday. So next slide. And then this is the slide for in-school youth eligibility. You'll notice that in-school youth in order to receive WIOA services must be low income. One good indicator of that is if they qualify for the free lunch program. Also, if their family is receiving food stamps or has received food stamps in the last 6 months, or TANF also in the last 6 months. So you can see here some of the same target groups as we saw with the out of school youth program, just a younger age 21 is the cutoff. So, and next, oh, thank you. You already did it. So these are the Workforce Board's priority industry sectors. And I'm sharing these with you because we share them with the client. These are industry clusters that have high growth and high opportunity in our local area, and ones that will pay a living wage relatively quickly, meaning like with say less than a year of training or education. So healthcare, advanced manufacturing, information technology, transportation and logistics, and construction. And we could go back and classify all of the trades into these different industry sectors, but I won't. Next slide. Okay. The WDB has 2 youth providers. So those are 2 organizations that actually operate the programs. In Central County, it's Mount Diablo Unified School District, the Youth Employment Services Program, and that should be a live link for you. And then in East or West County, we've got Contra Costa County Office of Education, Youth Services Department. And I'm happy to make connections for you. So if you're working with a young person who, I don't know, lives in a certain portion of the county and you're not sure who to refer them to, just reach out to me and I'll make that connection. The WIOA youth program is relatively small, meaning we serve about 170 to 200 young people a year through WIOA. What this means is please don't refer like your whole caseload in one kind of fell swoop. It's much better to refer individuals on an individual basis. The way the youth providers are doing orientations is once they have the person's name and contact information, they will reach out to them and give them a one-on-one orientation and kind of walk them through the paperwork that is needed to enroll in the program. Locally, most of the young people are spending about 14 months in the WIOA youth program. That's about average. And then there's a year of follow-up. So with the young adult population, you know, sometimes something happens that can seem great at the time. They get on the job and 3 or 4 months later, they're like, oops, what did I do? And the providers are there and available to assist them. Maybe they need to go back and get another like certification, or maybe they just need a pep talk, or maybe they get to the point where their job is offering benefits after their probationary period, and they need help selecting those. So that follow-up period is the time to kind of make adjustments if they're needed, and also the time to kind of celebrate success and provide retention support too. And next slide. Success stories. So yes, okay. Some of these are kind of from the past, but that's okay. So Brandon was 20-year-old high school student who was on the spectrum, kind of high functioning autism, who had never had a job. And there was one summer when we were taking young people and placing them directly into paid summer internships. And Brandon really wanted to participate, but his family, quite frankly, was holding him back. When he came to his appointment to receive information about the job placement, his aunt and his mother and his father and like the whole family showed up, and no one would let Brandon talk, which was just fine with him because he didn't really say much. But what it turned out was the family they were so scared for him to try. And so we ended up having to work not only with Brandon, the student, but also their family to let him participate. Well, he got placed with a insurance company. And interestingly enough, the supervisor had a college, and the owner had a college roommate who was on the spectrum. And so really had kind of a special lived experience with kind of ways to communicate with Brandon. He did great. And at the final kind of culminating graduation ceremony of the program, Brandon actually got up in front of everyone, like all the other students, all of the parents, and said a few words. And he ended up getting picked up part-time by the insurance company and was going to look at getting his property license, I guess. Yeah. And then, so Amir, okay, so Amir was 19 and at the time had aged out of the foster care system, but had not, he moved kind of back to where his biological family was after emancipating from foster care. And he was living with some friends and they all were kind of facing getting evicted and not being able to pay their bills. He was referred to the local THP Plus program, which provides housing assistance for former foster youth. And through that, they were able to actually pay his rental deposit and set him up in an apartment within just like a couple months' time. And then he got, let's see, he had a paid work experience for a bit, like three months, and then he used that to springboard into a job with actually two jobs, one with Kaiser and the other with a fancy restaurant where he worked as a valet parking cars for both. And he said he loved his job because he got to drive expensive cars. And yeah, so those are a couple success stories. And any questions about the youth program?
Don't see any in the chat and I don't see any hands raised.
You know, sometimes with these programs that are individualized, it's so hard to, they're kind of hard to market, right? Because it could really be anything. It could be truck driving, it could be phlebotomists, it could be tattoo artists, solar installers. So, I mean, it's kind of the flip side of having individualized services. You get to kind of design your own program each time.
Thank you, Narama. We're going to do a little quiz. So you can put your answers in the chat. So WIOA stands for, and these are a couple of different options: Workforce Investment and Opportunity Act, Workforce Initiative and Opportunity Act, Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, or Workforce Integration and Opportunity Act. So you can put the letter that you think is the right one in the chat: A, B, C, or D. And just while people are doing their quiz, Norma, there's a question: who do we call to talk about specific youths?
I would like to kind of check if they're eligible.
I'm guessing that's the question.
Okay, yeah. So if you could either use the links in the slide kind of by area, or feel free to call me too. If they're a City of Richmond resident, they will probably be referred to City of Richmond's Workforce Board. However, if they live in the unincorporated areas of the city, or San Pablo, or any of kind of outside of Richmond proper, then they would be served by a county office of ed.
Great, thank you. And I realized that in my glitching with the screen, in order to qualify for the WIOA youth program, the young person must be low income. I realized I was flashing the answer multiple times. The correct answer is false. I accidentally was showing that answer. You don't need to be low income. And then we're doing great on time, so we're going to move to Jed. He's going to be our last speaker from Special Grants Workforce Development Board. So Jed, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, thanks everybody. My name's Jed Silver. I'm a program manager, the Contra Costa County Workforce Development Board. And I don't know, they call me a special grants. I guess I told them to use that because I think me and my programs are special and nobody else's is. That's pretty much what I say. Now,
they are, Jed, they are.
Why do they put that out there? I think it's somewhat relevant to this conversation because my wonderful colleague Narama, she has youth, right? It's a specialized WIOA program. Somebody else in our office has adult programs for WIOA, right? And so what they really mean with special is not that I'm better than anybody else, but that I have a little bit more flexibility. Right. And so my charge is to go out, and at the beginning of this, Owen had said, hey, our job is to get people good jobs, right? Good careers. And so that's the way I look at it. And so I got a little flexibility. But with flexibility comes responsibility. So I got to raise my own money, right? I got to go out and get that money. So to pay for whatever I come up with. So I'm always looking for that next hot idea. And healthcare is one of our priority industries. And it's something that we're always trying to get people in. And, you know, one of the big barriers to that is that everything requires a license darn near in healthcare. And so that's a big challenge, right? Is that they already need to have the license before they get the job. So that can be sort of a turnoff to people that like myself, who are workforce people who are looking for what I call the formula, something that works to help people get into good jobs. Well, when an ambulance company came up to me and my colleague, our health guru, Bob Redlow, when I first got hired about 1.5 years ago, the ambulance company said, hey, Jed, we're looking for people from their community to work in their community. And that really hit my ear. They were looking for diverse people of color who understood and had cultural competency with the people that existed and were participating in emergency services in their community. You can imagine why, right? I mean, if the people coming into your community during emergency situations, if they reflect the diversity of that community, not only is it good for equity and inclusion, but it's just good for overall public safety, and it helps the ambulances do their job better. And so when I hear that as a workforce guy, not only are we open to hiring people of color from underserved communities, but we actually prefer it. And that's where my ears get perked up, right? And so I said, okay, well, this sounds good so far. What's the problem? Well, requires a license, right? Well, there's lots of programs I find out in community colleges and adult eds all around Contra Costa. There's an EMT program. You can go there and you can get you can study to become an EMT. Well, what were the challenges for our people? When I say our people, I'm talking about underserved communities. I'm talking about people of color and non-traditional workplaces. So it was a lot of white males that were dominating the EMT field. And so what they wanted to do was diversify and get some, open this door up for women as well. So what's the problem? And here are these college programs, they're there. What's the problem? Well, I started to find out that not a lot of people knew that becoming working for an ambulance is a great way to become a nurse and a great way to work for, to lead towards becoming a firefighter. Because I'll be real with y'all. I've never heard anybody say my dream is to become an ambulance driver. I've never heard that. Okay. I'll be real with you, but I have heard people say my dream is to become a nurse, or my dream is to become a firefighter. And so once I was learning that this is the best ways to do it, then I thought maybe if the community knew about that too, maybe they would fill up this class. Right. And so that's what we did. We went in the community and started letting people know, hey, this is a great avenue. Well, why else could they not participate in that class? Well, people, you go to that class if you've been to college, you feel comfortable in a scientific community, right? And going into a science class, going into college and taking this class. And if you have the money where you don't have to work, or that you don't have to earn money during that program, then, and you know that a job is waiting for you, then, hey, you don't need this program. But for the people that we're trying to serve, we found out that they needed extra supports. And so my job was to build that, right? And so this is what the background of the job is, hey, these are good jobs. It does require a license, and you can advance to nursing and firefighting. So we can go to the next slide. So what are some of the highlights? What are some of the elements that we added in order to make this program, make the EMT pathway more realistic and sustainable for people that we're trying to serve? Well, we realized, hey, if I went into I haven't been in college in 20 years, right? Not to date myself, but if I walked into a science class right now, I don't know if I could pass it. So I can't assume other people could. They might not have ever been to college. And so to throw them into a science medical based class, it didn't seem like a recipe for success to me. So we started a pre-class. So before the college class started, we started a class of medical terminology, physiology, and anatomy, so that our people could get together with a tutor, a full-time embedded tutor that we paid for with our grant money, right? So there's an instructor that's there, but we thought, wait, if these people had a full-time tutor that was available to them morning, noon, and night to check in with them and be proactive, right? Work with them before they got to the college class. So not only were they prepared, but they were confident when they walked in there. And that's what we wanted to make sure, is that people felt confident when they were walking into this college class. And that's why we have the pre-class activities. We have career counseling, right? Constantly, not just waiting for you to come into class, but we're reaching out to them to say, look, what do you guys want to do? How do you want to use this EMT to advance your further goals, right? And so getting the background checks, getting, checking your DMV readouts, getting life coaching, all these wraparound supports were super important. Plus, of course, we wanted to add monthly stipends and completion bonuses. So our programs are completely free, but we wanted to make sure that in addition to that, people didn't have to work or work less, so that they were able to we could help them make ends meet, so that it can make it a little bit more sustainable. And we were able to successfully secure $2,500 per person. And we distributed that through a combination of monthly stipends and then completion bonuses that penciled out to around $2,500 of financial assistance that were directly paid to the participant, which we believe in greatly. Also, the national exam is a bit of a monster, right? We realized that people are just, after the class, they're left on their own to then go to the national accrediting body and to try to get this licensing done. And we made sure that our full-time embedded tutor, who's been with these people throughout the class, was with them throughout that process to help them with that national exam. Okay, next slide, please. And so the requirements. Now, these are the bad things, right? So one of the people always say, what are the requirements? I say the first thing is not so much a requirement, but it's more just a best match, right? You got to have high energy, right? This is not a job for people that don't want to move quickly. You do have to be able to lift, right? You're going to be lifting people. Are you going to do it by yourself? No. Do you have to be a bodybuilder? No, not at all. In fact, the people that are best at lifting the people are the people that know that use balance and leverage, not so much sheer strength. So it's not about who's the biggest and strongest. We had tiny little people that utilized balance and leverage, and that we taught them. So but one thing we can't teach is somebody that's willing to move around and have high energy. You have to have or be willing to attain a driver's license. If you're going to be on an ambulance crew, you got to be able to drive the ambulance. And so that's one thing that if you don't have when you come into the program, we need to have a path laid out for how you're going to get it by the time you get out of the program, which is when it's required for licensing. You also need to have fewer than 2 points on that license. So if you had a recent DUI or something, the employer's insurance and the accrediting body are simply not going to allow you to get the license. You have to be a high school graduate, 18 years or older. The background check is something I don't love. I'm used to working with reentry candidates, and I can work with the employer usually in my other programs to be able to get exceptions and to be able to get defined things as to what we can and cannot deal with. Unfortunately, this is not about the employer. This is not about the ambulance company AMR saying we won't take people. It's about the Contra Costa County's accrediting body, which is called the LEMSA. I used to think it was sounded like an obscure species of lemur that was in Madagascar or something like that, but it's actually the accrediting body of emergency medical services that requires these things, and they're not super specific about what will and what will not pass the background check. So it's my least favorite part about the program. What we do is we get the background check ahead of time, we pay for that, and then we give that to the LEMSA, and they say it's on a case-by-case basis. So before wasting anybody's time, we try to get it done proactively before the program starts. That's how we meet that. It's not my favorite part of the program, and it's something we're working on to lobby the LEMSA to be more forgiving and frankly humane, but it's a work in progress, right? Meeting attendance requirements is something that I can't fudge on, right? We don't expect people to have a great science background or to be great students. I don't worry about any of that. When I do my recruiting, I say one of the things I don't worry about, they say, hey, I wasn't a great student. I don't care. Hey, I don't have great work history. I don't care. But with an accrediting program, there is no give on the attendance, right? Because we have to say to get your license that you did, right? You can't go out on an ambulance if you miss CPR, or you missed, how to do this. It's life and death situations. So, you can miss a class or two, but we have to make that up. And so, meeting attendance requirements is a deal breaker, right? If people can't come consistently, that's not something that we can account for. Everything else, we have a programmatic element to account for that. Okay, next slide, please. History. Well, last program, this is a pilot program that we started almost a year ago now. We recruited 25 people of color from, West Contra Costa. Out in the community, we found 70% women. 19 of them completed the program. On the last day of class, AMR, which is the ambulance company, came in with their tablets, right, their iPads, and just started the onboarding process right there. Just hired every single person in the program. All 19 passed their national accrediting exam. A couple of them on their second try, but these are very difficult tests. You can now take that license and go anywhere in the country and have that apply. So we were very proud of that. All right, next slide. I know we're a little bit of time issue here. Okay, a success story. There's a young man named Jose who was working at a casino as a security guard, and he hated his job. He didn't like being there, but I remember when I recruited him, he felt like he was trapped, right? And a lot of people feel like this, like, how am I supposed to go to a program and risk my income, right? Even if it's a great job down the line, how can I make these ends meet, right? And so we were able to provide him this financial assistance, not so he didn't have to work, but so he could work less, so he could go to class. The classes were in the evening. That'll be changing a little bit. We'll have both day and night classes in the next cohort. I'll talk about that in a minute, but he was able to complete the class. He actually had somebody collapse at the casino and used his CPR to save the person's life on the job. So this is a success story, not only for Jose, but the person that he saved as well. So he is now, he was able to quit his job as a casino worker and is now making $26 an hour as a licensed EMT with AMR. And as I'll talk about in a minute, he will be first up for our paramedic apprenticeship program to expand his career options as well. So we can move on. Okay, what's next? We are recruiting for our next cohort. I will throw the link in the chat. We have a flyer, we have QR codes, all that kind of thing. You can apply. The pre-classes will be in the October, November. We haven't figured out exact dates and times yet. We're working on that now with our grants. The college class starts in January. We're hoping to expand. Last time it was at Contra Costa College, where I'm working right now with Mount Diablo Adult Ed to be able to offer both sites, right? We want to expand the number of sites. And Mount Diablo Adult Ed is going to offer a daytime and a nighttime cohort, so it can be flexible for people who have different needs. All right, next. Long-term, so after we were so successful with getting AMR diverse people of color and women licensed and into EMT jobs, they said, well, geez, Jed, how can we do this for paramedics? I said, wait, there's a difference, right? I didn't even know. Well, it turns out that once you're an EMT for 6 months, if you go to a whole bunch more school, you can become a paramedic and of course make much more money. And so obviously my ears perked up. How can we do this? Well, I wrote a grant to the Division of Apprenticeship Standards and got approved for money to develop a registered apprenticeship program. So once they go into working as an EMT and they get hired by AMR, then they can start their apprenticeship and continue working as an EMT while going to school and also taking their classes to become a licensed paramedic, which then you can break off. You could work for a fire department, you could work for healthcare organizations or stay on an ambulance company, but the pay is upwards from, you know, $35 up to $60 per hour as a paramedic. They're absolutely in demand everywhere. And so it's a great opportunity for earn and learn. Behavioral and mental health providers are now they want them to be paramedics as well. So the career expansion ladder from EMT to paramedic is exploding. I haven't seen anything like this. I've been doing this a long time. I have not seen anything like this, an opportunity where a change in operations has opened the opportunities for people of color of underserved communities to get into the health field, to make money right away and to expand what they can do and become and have a great career. The first apprenticeship cohort, right, will be in the spring. So after we run another EMT program, once you go through our EMT program, you are you have the right of first refusal to become an apprenticeship under the paramedic apprenticeship program. So as an EMT student of or participant of ours, you get the right of first refusal, meaning that if you want to be in that program, you get first shot. So we're very proud of that. Okay, next slide, please.
I'm actually going to skip the question. We have great quiz questions, which I totally appreciate. I'm going to move through them just so we have time for people to ask questions. But I'll just, we'll let folks ask questions while I'm showing these. I think the answers are all of the above for all of these. Do folks have any questions for Jed or any of the other speakers? We're actually just right at the very end. I wanted to also, I'm going to stop sharing. I have a quick survey for folks too, just to see how your learning experience was here. But while we're doing that, just happy to get any last questions that folks have. And we're going to send out an email. We're going to post the recording. We're going to post the slide deck, and we're going to send out an email that also includes the survey link as well. Any last questions that folks have? Any age limits for EMT? Oh, upper age limits. Sounds like they have to be at least 18. Any upper age limits?
No, there's no upper age limits. Again, it's really just based on your ability to move and be energetic is what we look for, but no stringent, rigid age cutoff.
Great. Jed, you seem like you could be an EMT. You got the energy for it.
Say it again.
I just said you seem like you could be in that program. You've got the energy for it, apparently.
Job's way too hard for me. I'm a paper pusher.
We are like boop, right at 3 o'clock. You guys were amazing. Thank you for all of the incredible content, your information, the energy, great questions. We're gonna follow up probably tomorrow with everything. Just if you have like literally 3 minutes, take a minute to fill out the survey. It'll just let us know how the training was. Really appreciate everybody. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your Monday.